everybody, I'm Tom Vassell. Welcome to Lookback, where I take a look at videos that I did a year, 5 years, and 10 years ago and tell you what I think about those games now. So let's go back a year ago. The Deadlies was a little card game about the 7 deadly sins. There's some cute things about it, but it's Uno-esque. It's a little bit more complex than that, obviously, but it's very, very light, a little too light for me. Harry Potter House Cup Competition. I did not dislike this game. I think there's a lot of good things about it. The production's what brought this down, especially if you don't know if you don't know a lot about Harry Potter. Of course, I don't know that you'd be playing the game probably, but you kind of have to know what the little tokens mean sometimes. It's fine. I just think it could have looked nicer. Aeon's End Legacy. This is a legacy style game that this one's kind of dropped for me a bit. The more I think about it, the more I look at it and go, I don't know if I want to play it again. It basically took Aeon's End, turned it into a legacy game, melodic by just taking bits and pieces out. Also, the storyline is a little weak in my opinion. But then again, my opinion of Aeon's End has gone down, so that's probably what's affecting this. Telestrations Upside Drawn is where one person holds the pen, the other person moves the paper to draw the picture. That's a funny little party game. Alma Mater. This one is not that big. Now, it did come out in the middle of the lockdown, so maybe that's why this kind of follow-up to Coimbra did not do as well. I like the little books in this game. It's a pretty tough Euro game, a little unforgiving in parts, but I found it to be enjoyable. And a year ago, we played The Rise of Queensdale, me and my family. What a great experience. The experience, 10 out of 10. But Rise of Queensdale, a lot of good things in it. I liked playing through the whole campaign. All right, 5 years ago. Avarium Academy. This is just a trashy game. It really is. It's bad. The theme is bad. The components aren't that great. And the gameplay is just awful. Diplomacy. Now, Diplomacy did not come out 5 years ago, but I took a look at Diplomacy. I can appreciate the game of Diplomacy. I can appreciate why so many people like it. I hate it. And that's why it doesn't have a 1, because I don't think it's necessarily a bad game. But the problem is I like negotiation. I like the stuff back and forth. I just don't like it in the context of 7 hours. Splish Splash Catapult. This is from HABA. It's a catapult, type game. There's a lot of those. This one is not one of the better ones. Princess Mina. This is another kids game from HABA in a pink box. It's one of the first pink box I think I saw from them. It's a cute little game for little kids. Before I Kill You, Mr. Spy. Originally, this was called Before I Kill You, Mr. Bond. They had to change it for copyright reasons. A game about where you're trying to give as long of a monologue as you can. It's fine. It's fine for a lark. It's just not a game that I would pull out myself. Swipe Out. R&R games. This is a really simple game where you're just wiping chips off a board. It's okay. It's just forgettable. Costa Rica. This one I knocked down a bit. It's from Matthew Dunstan and Brett Gilbert, who are a great design team, and the game itself is fine, but just the components and the quality was not that great, and I haven't gone back to it. Mayfair Games, who now are gone now, I just didn't like the quality of the games they were making. Picomino, roll dice, collect chips. If you like Yahtzee, you might like this style. Really nice components. Loop Incorporated. It's so weird. A game came out this year called Loop. Now we have Loop Incorporated. They're both about time travel. I think I like Loop Incorporated better. Although, honestly, I haven't touched it since that 5 years ago. And going through these loops, I'd like to go back and give this one a revisit. Bring Your Own Book. I love the concept of Bring Your Own Book. You literally have your own book, and you're flipping through that book as fast as you can to find different things. That's a cool concept and also works in different ages. Via Nebula. This game never took off. A Martin Wallace train game, except it's not touted as a train game. You're like building through clouds and stuff like that. But it really does feel like a train game. Great components. This one is one you should check out. World Monuments. Another game that never really took off from Queen Games. I really like this one. Putting these blocks out, building this big building together from these blocks. It's a fairly simple game. I just like the tactile feel of the blocks and the 3D building you're building. Gloobs. There's a lot of grab stuff as fast as you can games. I like this one. Part of that is because of the gloobs you're grabbing. They're cute and stuff. But this one just really worked for me. Cry Havoc. I get asked about this one a lot. It's been 5 years now since the review. I still think it's a fascinating game, extremely unique, really cool combat system. And it now has dozens of competitors. So it's dropped a bit for me because I sometimes might play some of those instead. But it's still a pretty solid game. Cry Havoc. King of Tokyo has also dropped for me just a smidge. I still like it. This one may just be because I've played it so much at this point. I'm the slightest bit tired of it, but still a solid game, King of Tokyo. On the other hand, Scythe, you see, has gone up to become one of my favorite games. Scythe, when I first played, I thought this is a good, solid game. Now, part of this rating increase is definitely the Rise of Fenris expansion. I think that's one of the best expansions ever made. So that's part of the reason it's gone up to 10, but also this one is still a hot game that I'll play anytime. Okay, let's go back 10 years ago now. So Blue Orange has been around for a while, but I was just starting to notice them 10 years ago. So they had Spell It, which was a very, very mass marketing spelling chip game. Nice components, but meh. Space Pirates, this is from Christoph Bollinger. Actually, this is an odd one because it's one of the few games I can remember where a spaceship broke in the component drop. I fixed it with glue. I just remember that. But the game itself was The components weren't great. Dragon Face. This was a two-player abstract strategy game. It came in a big tube. Very, very forgettable. Carcassonne, the dice game. Was not a big fan of this. I hate it. The container. It's shaped like a meeple. Woo-hoo-hoo. But it was just a lucky dice game. This is before the plethora of roll and writes we have now. This one was not very good. Vampire, Werewolf, Fairies. It had 4 different art styles, if you like that. You know, big names from John Kovalik, Phil Foglio. But it was a sequel to, like, Pirate Robot Ninjas. It's okay. Pixie Cubes. You could use these little cubes to make pictures. Another blue-orange one. It's, again, okay. Man, I played a lot of okay games. Telltale, a storytelling game. This one's okay, but for kids. It works for kids. Name 5, a party game where you're just trying to name 5 things. It's an okay party game. Ranked very low on Board Game Geek. Zen Master. All right, we're starting to get better now. This is a trick-taking game that's kind of paled for me a little bit over the years. It does work well with 3 people. This was originally called Relationship Tightrope. A lot of people didn't like that theme. I don't think Zen Master was a better theme. It's like, ooh, you know, you're trying to have a balance in the game, which I get. This one, I really liked the first few times I played it, and it's kind of paled for me. Scrum Brawl. You know, compared to all this mediocrity I was playing, Scrum Ball was a game I expected to not be that good, and it actually turned out to be pretty fun. Junta Viva el Presidente. Now, this came out before the mass amount of social deduction games. This is an early one. I remember being enamored. There was a pair of sunglasses. This was a dice version of Junta. It's good, but it's not, again, there's so many other better games nowadays. Fast Track. Many of you might know this game by its name, La Pasta Trap. This still shows up on Facebook ads occasionally. It's one thing. Pull the discs back, shoot them through that hole in the middle as fast as you possibly can. That's the whole game. But it is amusing. Quarriors. Now, this is a pretty big drop, but I really like Quarriors. I thought it was a cool thing. It's still in the Dice Tower library. Quarriors, one reason it's dropped. I played, the Marvel game, Dice Masters, and DC and whatever. And Dice Masters does everything I want Quarriors to do and more. Doesn't make Quarriors a bad game. It's just that I won't go back to it. And some of the stuff in Quarriors feels a bit dated at this point. Still, really cool idea to use dice, a bag building game. Whew. Small World Underground. This one's fine. I like Small World a lot. They never really did a whole lot to, this never really took off. It was like going to be a sequel, well, it was a sequel to Small World, and you could kind of mix them together, but not really. So what happened? No one hardly ever plays this because it's basically the same thing as Small World with just different powers. Epic Thunderstone, this is the original Thunderstone, the first edition of Thunderstone that I was taking a look at, and the epic version of this. This is really like a 9.5 for me. The reason I haven't changed this rating is because that 9.5 refers to the current Thunderstone quest. This would be based on the original Thunderstone, which I still liked a lot. And then Summoner Wars Master Set. Still a 10 out of 10. Still one of the coolest products I've ever seen. I was already a big fan of Summoner Wars, and then they said we're coming with a big box with a board in it, with 6 factions, 6 brand new factions, 6 really cool factions. Summoner Wars, fantastic game. Now, of course, I play Summoner Wars 2nd edition at this point in time, which is very similar to this, and which also gets a 10 out of 10 from me. But there you go, folks. Reviews from 1, 5, and 10 years ago. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Look Back on the Dice Tower.